guys, what is up? Welcome to your fourth PHP tutorial. First of all, I'll get out the challenge out of the way, what I set you last video, and it was just to make a basic greeting message with using the get method to change the name. Okay, so open this up and just check mine. Oop, forgot to do the get. Right. Okay, so as you can see, mine is just hello Lewis, how are you today? Good, and yes, it does make you manly that you almost cried watching the Hunger Games. That film is good. Shut up. You can't. You don't judge me. Okay. Anyway, right. What I want to do today is go over basic loops. Now, what a loop is in PHP is a way of doing one one block of code, if you will, over and over again. This is good for many reasons, like if you had a database that you wanted to go through in PHP, you can do that in 4 lines of code rather than having to do a line of code for each thing in your database, and it's a lot faster. Okay, so first I think I'll start with the while loop, which you start by writing while and opening a bracket. And now what we want to put in this bracket is we have to put a statement, and what the while loop does is if this statement is true, or while this statement is true, then execute the block of code. So just close this and get the block ready. There we go. So if we make a quick variable going like statement equals true. Now this statement will always be true. I'm not sure if this might crash my browser now, but we'll find that one out when we get to it. Statement, and we'll do echo true. Oop. Now if we try that, now statement by here, which we initiated by here, and it equals true. So what the while is checking is if this variable is true, we will execute what is in here. This might take a long time to load. Yeah, it's probably a bad example to show you because yeah, I crashed my browser. What you would have seen is a lot of trues. If it'll keep going. The way PHP works is it will not load the page up until every single part of your PHP code has executed. So where we just put that while loop, it will be constantly writing true. That's why it never finished loading. So that's why it crashed. So if we do false and refresh, it will load up, but it will display nothing because there's nothing in it. But if we do statement equals 5, and now we do keep statement while statement is less than 10, it will still crash my browser at this point because it'll always be less than 10 because statement's not changing. So what we want to do is going back to some this is more advanced operators from the last tutorial I shown you, but we do statement again plus plus. Now what plus plus means is going to add 1 every single time the loop goes through. Just add a line break by here as well to make it look nicer. So what we should see by here when we refresh the page is 5 trues. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what this block of code has done here is checking, right, while statement, which equals 5, is less than 10, we are going to first we are going to add 1 to statement. So after it says true the first time, it will statement will then equal 6, and the second time it goes through will equal 7, and so on and so on until it's 10. So it stops then at 10. Well, once statement is no longer less than 10, the while loop will have stopped. Okay, we'll just show this as well by doing echo statement. Have a nice line break there. It's pretty. There we go. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now that's the while loop. That's quite an easy loop, just to check if whatever you're putting in your brackets is true. Then it'll execute a block of code. Now the next one is the for loop. Personally, my favorite loop. What you do to start this loop is for with an open bracket, and now what we want to do is make a variable. So $I. Just get rid of this statement. I equals naught and a semicolon, because that's our first statement in the for loop. We didn't have to do a semicolon in the previous while loop because there's only one statement, but in the for loop we have 3. Right. The second part is what the condition of the for loop. So it will execute everything inside its block while the statement we're about to write is true. So we do I is less than 10 again, another semicolon. We want to do I plus plus because we want I to get bigger, so it'll eventually stop. Close our brackets, open a curly bracket and close that. So again, if we do echo I, if we refresh this, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It will not go to 10 because it will. Right. The way for loops work is when the while loop, it would have gone to 10 because it. Let me just make a while loop just to show you this more better. Statement is less than 10. Okay, we just refresh that and add a line break by here. What have I done? Forgot a curly bracket. Okay, see the for loop here goes from 0 to 0 to 9, where the while loop goes 1 to 10. Now this is because if we have a look at what happens in the for loop, we declare I as 0, we then say, right, while I is less than 10, we will activate our code, but then first, right, PHP sees this and says, right, because I is 0, so 0 is less than 10, we have to execute the code. But first, it's going to add, it's going to add 1 to I straight away, just before it echoes the code. So up by here, I is still 0, but as soon as this executes, it's going to go to 10, 1, sorry. And that way it'll stop at 9 that way, because on the 9th one it goes, yep, 9 is definitely less than 10, but by here, because we're adding it once more, it'll go, oh, hang on a minute now, 10 isn't less than 10, and it won't display it. However, in the while loop, statement by here which equals 0, and is definitely less than 10 again, it goes, right, we have to execute our code. It'll say statement up. That's why we don't see a 0 in this one, because we're already increasing it. Like if we moved that down to by here, then it'll go 1 to 9 again. It's just because at the time the next code is at the time of the ninth when statement, or I equals 9, when it goes up, when it's added up to 10, it will not show 10 because 10 is not less than 10. That may not have explained that the best way, but just understand that's the way it works. However, if we did want to show 10 on both of them, we do the less than and equal, which means less than or equal to 10. Do that same for there, and it'll show 10 on both. Okay, this may have been a bit complicated. I'm not sure if I explained it the best way, but the thing is with loops is, as long as you understand with that operator, and that's how they work, you won't go wrong. Loops are brilliant. They're brilliant for going through large amount of databases that you could be holding for your website. So if you had 1,000 users and you wanted to display all the names of those users, you're looking at about 4 or 5 lines of code to do that, rather than 1,000 lines of code to do it. Okay, so the challenge I want to set for the next video is quite a fun one, and the reason why I'm doing these challenges is because you may understand what I'm saying on these tutorials. That's great. That's what I'm doing them for. However, just because you watch something doesn't mean you fully know how to use it. So by you going and trying these challenges out, you'll actually see how it is to use the stuff I'm telling you to use. So you'll understand, if for this challenge that I'm going to set now, how a for loop works, and then I'm going to go back on the if statements that we done a couple of I think 2 videos ago maybe. But yes, anyway, I want you to display from 1 to 100, but using whatever loop you want. I want you not to display 50, and I'll leave you to figure out how to do that. Another reason why these challenges I think will help you a lot is because being able to problem solve is the key of any programming language. Thank you anyway. If you could just like this video if it helped you, and subscribe, that'll be great, and it'll show that people are understanding what I'm telling them. Thank you, and goodbye.